Let's see. So we left before the break, and there was a gentleman that works in the building of the penthouse that was interviewed that was visibly annoyed and over his questioning by Heard's lawyer about repetitive information that he would not be able to know about questions about Amber's makeup, etc. That would not be something that he would know, and it was entertaining to listen to and to watch the reactions of the people in the courtroom, including Johnny Depp. He was tickled. He was laughing a bit because it's true. And I even said that yesterday. Most of us don't remember what we had for breakfast last week, let alone what. Lucy, do you need to go? You need to go outside? All right, I'm taking my dog out. Hold on. Come on, out you go. Let alone what we had for breakfast last week. So, the patience level has had to be very high for these witnesses, I tell you. And enduring the endless repetitiveness of these questions is just beyond. I don't even know. Sorry, I'm not holding this properly. Okay. Oh, they're just up at the bench. Okay, that's why there's no sound. So it looks like I'm looking at the chat while we're waiting for the stuff to start again. Can you all hear? No, they haven't started yet. They haven't started talking yet. Patience, Iago. Patience. Oh, where's my face? There it is. Okay. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Oh my goodness. How many days and weeks is this going to go on for? All right, let me just mute it for a second. There we go. You can see a little bit better now. All right, let's do this, people. Nope, no audio yet. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. As a therapist, psychotherapist, qualifying as well as a mental health counselor for 17 years. This is a very interesting case for me. So, like I said yesterday, I'm an observer, of course. And there's a lot of stuff going on in this case that's very interesting. And especially when it's to do with now properly diagnosed personality disorders and mental health challenges, as well as childhood abuse, how that affects relationships, dynamics, how that affects partners that we might attract potentially or choose to have. I think that this is definitely the case here. And it didn't work out so well, did it? Just a good reminder, just because you're attracted to someone, you have that magnetic attraction towards someone, doesn't mean they're healthy for you. And I think that's a big misconception for a lot of people, that if they have that kind of magnetic pull towards someone, that is necessarily the right partner. And that can be sometimes, depending on the person and whatnot, it can be the worst partner. So it's you have to choose with your heart, but also your head. You have to look at what is pulling you, or have your family and friends help you to be able to look at things objectively and say, why am I being drawn to this person? Do I know this person well enough? How long have I known this person? What are their friends like? How do they treat their friends? How do they treat their parents? How do they treat their family members? All those things. Okay, so we are just waiting. People taking notes. Well, I'm hoping that they'll have some more interesting witnesses this afternoon, because honestly, this morning was a lot of time wasted, I think, in just repetitive questions towards a police officer, and trying to allege that somehow they were negligent. It doesn't sound like, even from the cameras, that they were negligent in any way. And very accusatory tone from Heard's lawyer about, are you aware that police officer could be found negligent, blah, blah, blah. It was really very inflammatory language that she was using. She seems to do that to everyone. So, yeah. Hopefully we can get started soon. I might have to edit these videos because this is taking a little bit of time here to get started. Let's see. It's a long approach from the lawyers. Is Amber going on the stand? Oh my goodness. Can you believe it? Is Amber actually going on the stand? Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad I have a minute to tune in, because honestly, that would be very interesting to see. I'm sure it will be very emotional and dramatic if all the testimonies line up with how people have experienced her. I'm sure there'll be a lot of tears and emotions and accusations and etc. So we shall see. Looks like they might be wrapping up here, and we'll get started. We will get started. Let's see. Leave it. Sorry, I'm talking to my dog. All right. When's the last day? I don't know. I don't know.
Are we ready for the jury?
Here we go. Yes, we are ready for the jury, please. Thank you. I'm going to mute myself because I'm going to have no. Hopefully, I'm not too loud with my chip because I'm going to have a chip because they're taking so long.
Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. All right, your next witness.
Plaintiff calls Christian.
Thank you for your patience.
Christian Carino.
And as with a number of the other depositions, this one
Christian
will
Curry,
start
who's that?
questioning by Ms. Heard's counsel, and at some point switch over to questioning by counsel for Mr. Depp.
All right, and how do you spell the last name? Just for me.
C-A-R-I-N-O. Thank you.
An address for the record. You may use your business address if you feel more comfortable.
Christian Carino.
Is this another online
and the
witness?
Work address is 2000 Avenue of the Stars in Century City.
And that is in California.
Correct.
Oh, this guy's
And
online
what is
as
your
well.
current occupation?
I'm a talent agent.
I'm a what?
And
A talent
could you
agent.
give me just a very brief description of your educational background and work experience.
Sure. I have a BA from the University of Massachusetts, and my work background is I've been at CAA for approximately 16 years, and before that, I had a 12-year run with 2 different advertising agencies in New York.
Is this recorded in 2021,
And
January
who were those
19th? Or is this
advertising
live?
agencies?
Ogilvy and Mather and McCann Erickson.
Right.
Okay.
Now you indicated that you were a talent agent. Can you please describe what that means?
I represent multiple clients and brands in transactions in the entertainment space.
And when you say in the entertainment space, what are you including?
Just the different genres of entertainment, everything from motion picture to television to books to licensing to modeling, all the different areas that the agency operates in.
As a talent agent representing multiple clients, what types of services do you perform for them, and what's the objective?
Okay. Yep. I conduct business transactions on behalf of clients and brands in the entertainment space.
And what does that mean?
It means It means I organize, pitch, transact in contractual agreements between talent and
He arranges
studios,
their
talent
jobs.
and brands, entertainment platforms and individuals, brands and individuals.
Do you represent any actors?
I do work with every different group of talent within the agency. And
So, yes.
for each person, it's different for the business that I personally oversee for them. So in some cases, I am negotiating contractual agreements for a music artist to go to Las Vegas. In some cases, I'm transacting
Be back in a minute, guys.
for an artist to have a relationship with a brand. In some cases,
it's an artist with a platform like Netflix. It spans the general platform capabilities that the agency has overall.
Is one of the objectives of your representation to build the careers of the individuals you represent?
Yes.
Did you have any conversations with Mr. Waldman in which you expressed any thoughts or opinions on how you believed any litigation was having an effect on Mr. Depp's reputation or career?
Yes.
How many times?
One that I can recall.
And when was that?
I have no idea. Years ago.
If you expressed to Mr. Waldman that the sooner the litigation was over, the better for Mr. Depp, what were you thinking when you said that? Why did you think that?
I think anytime somebody is in litigation publicly, it is at a minimum a distraction to that person's career.
and in a lot of cases, it negatively impacts that person because there's attention drawn to them that
Of course.
it is outside of what people want to know about that person.
Mm-hmm. True that.
And what do you mean by it distracts from the career?
Oh my gosh, this is going so slowly.
I mean
Moving
that
along.
with somebody who is well
known, people don't want to hear they're in a lawsuit with anybody about anything.
Why not?
Because that's just not what they want to know or hear news about people.
That's kind of making big assumptions. Maybe they might want to
And
know that,
why do
but
you
you
believe
think they
that?
don't want to know that. I don't know.
Based on my experience in this world for the past 16 years.
And when you say it negatively impacts, what do you mean by that?
People don't want to hear that the people that they look up to are in litigation.
Do you also believe that that impacts career decisions by producers, directors, companies with brands,
Things of that nature?
yes.
And
In what way?
Oh my goodness.
Because the general public doesn't want to hear that people that they look up to are in litigation. And when it the more oxygen it takes up in the overall news or coverage of an individual, and the less focused it is on that person's career, the less interested studios, brands, the general public.
They don't want to be
becomes
associated with
in
that
person.
studios.
And therefore less opportunities.
Yes.
When you expressed to Adam Waldman that your opinion that the sooner the litigation is over for Mr. Depp, the better, what did Mr. Waldman say?
To be honest, I don't recall exactly what he said, but something like, we're gonna get this over with as fast as we can.
Mr. Carino, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what has been marked as Carino exhibit number, we'll keep it labeled 4. Do you believe that the Mandel lawsuit posed a distraction to Mr. Depp's career?
I don't know.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as Carino deposition exhibit number 5.
Lucy.
And as you can see here, it's an article June 21st, 2017, the Hollywood Gossip. Do you recall
that coming up during that time frame, that issue? Have you read or heard of the Rolling Stones?
Yes.
Have you read or heard of GQ?
Yes.
Mr. Carino, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what
has been marked as Carino deposition exhibit number 2, and it's Rolling Stone publication on June 21, 2018. Do you see that?
Yes,
Do you ever read this article?
parts of it.
Are you aware of whether this article in the Rolling Stone, June 2018, that's reflected in Carino exhibit number 2, impacted in a negative way Mr. Depp's reputation or career?
Elena, I don't think it's possible to ask anybody that question without having done research among the people who read a specific article. If you're asking my opinion about whether an article like this or this particular article, in my opinion, would have a positive or negative effect on somebody's, career, I could potentially answer that. But as to definitively whether an article has or has not had an impact on somebody's career, nobody can answer that question without research. Specifically.
Mr. Carino, I think we were just going to start looking at the Carino exhibit number 3. This is an article that was published in November of 2018. Do you recall reading this at some point?
What publication is that?
This is GQ.
I probably read part of it, but I don't remember.
It's a pre-recorded
Have you
deposition.
had
right?
any direct contact with Ed White or his company?
Yes.
What is the nature of your contact with Ed White and his company?
Payment on deals where Johnny was owed money. Bill collecting.
When you say bill collecting, was it collecting on your behalf, or was it trying to collect from studios or companies?
The latter.
And so what would your involvement be in those circumstances?
Ed on occasion reached out to me to ask about the timing of a payment that was owed to Johnny.
And were you able to answer those questions?
I think in all cases, I just referred him to somebody who worked for me to find out what the payment schedule was.
Other than these occasions where Ed White would reach out to you to ask when time of payment, did you have any other connection or communication with Ed White or his company in connection with Johnny Depp?
No.
Were you familiar with Jake Bloom?
Yes.
Do you know whether Mr. Bloom ever represented Mr. Depp?
Yes.
And what was your understanding of the nature of that representation?
He was his lawyer.
Did you ever talk to Jake Bloom?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
On how many occasions did you speak with Jake Bloom relating to Mr. Depp?
I have no idea.
Was it pretty frequently?
What does that mean?
Well, was it more than 10?
Are you asking me if I had approximately 10 conversations with Jake over the duration
I
of
like the way
our
he's handling
relationship?
her.
Yes. I actually asked if you had more than 10. I wasn't asking you if it was exactly 10.
Okay. I mean, I'm guessing that it was probably less than 10 in total.
Was Mr. Bloom still representing Mr. Depp when you started representing Mr. Depp?
Oh,
I believe so, but I'm not sure.
And when did you start representing Mr. Depp?
I believe it was in late 2016.
just checking my notes while we're listening to this.
Mr. Reno, are you looking at something to be able to refresh your recollection?
I am.
What do you have in front of you?
Oh my gosh.
A note that I made to myself of the date of when Johnny was a client, and I think I wrote down October 2016.
That's a
Do you
lot.
have a recollection of the context of your discussions with Mr. Bloom?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
My recollection of the conversations I had with
Don't give too much info.
Jake were
Only what she
in
asks.
regard to
Sorry.
getting Johnny and Jake to meet and work out whatever the issues were around their disagreement.
So you were trying to broker, if you will, a discussion between them to try to resolve their issues?
Issues. Uh-oh.
Were you successful in that?
I don't remember whether they ever got together and met about it, to be honest.
Now, I'm going to show you what has been marked as deposition, Carino deposition exhibit number 7. And this is a lawsuit that was filed on October 17, 2017. Were you aware of this litigation being filed by Mr. Depp on his behalf against Bloom, Pergott, Deemer, etc.?
Yes.
And were you involved in any way in this litigation?
No.
Do you know one way or the other whether the filing of and the ongoing litigation associated with this lawsuit had any negative impact on Mr. Depp's reputation, and career.
He already answered that.
I said no.
How can he measure
Do
that?
you recall whether there was any publicity surrounding this litigation that's reflected in the complaint that's Carino number 7?
Are you asking me if I'm aware if the Jake Bloom litigation was made public?
Yes.
Yes.
And in addition to being made public, do you recall whether there was publicity surrounding the Jake Bloom litigation?
Yes.
And do you recall whether there was publicity surrounding the Mandel litigation?
Yes.
Mr. Carino, I'm going to ask you what has been marked as deposition exhibit number 10. And in this particular one, we have, this is the article that was written in the Sun Times that was the beginning, if you will, of the UK lawsuit. Do you have a recollection of seeing that?
No.
Did you ever read it?
I don't know. I'd have to. I don't know. I'm sure I read at least part of it if it's the original document that caused the Sun legal issues.
Now, the date on this one is April 27, 2018.
Ever fear truth.
Did you see that on there?
Yep.
Mr. Carino, I'm going to ask you what has been marked as deposition, Carino deposition exhibit number 11.
This guy's trying to hold his patience.
June 13, 2018. It's hard to see that little stamp there, but it was filed on June 13, 2018.
Interesting.
And it's Mr. Depp
gonna
filed
look at the chat here for a minute.
Newspapers Limited, Sun, and then Dan Wooten. Were you aware that Mr. Depp brought this lawsuit in the UK?
Her lawyers are being paid to make Johnny look good. It's working.
Mr. Carino, I'm going to ask you to take a look at what has been marked
I
now
would
as
agree.
Carino exhibit number 12. This is published in the Washington Post on December 18, 2018. Were you aware of this article?
Yes.
Op-ed?
There's probably lots of articles too.
Yes.
Mr. Carino, when I asked you whether you were aware one way or the other, whether this lawsuit that's reflected in exhibit number 11 had a negative impact on Mr. Depp's reputation and career, you answered no. What did you mean by that?
I meant that there isn't a way for any individual to know whether the filing of a document had an impact on somebody's career, positive or
He already
negative,
said
without
that, honey.
specific research conducted in exactly that.
This is the trend with these
Case.
people. Well, this lawyer anyway. It just seems like she just hammers them over
same
the
as
head
in
with the same
facts,
questions. And maybe
because
that's
you haven't
what
researched
lawyers
it, you
do
don't know
in
what
general.
really
But
happens.
the way she does it is extremely annoying and antagonizing.
I believe I stated that unless someone had done research specifically about the filing of
This is the
document,
third time he said what
and
he's saying now.
its
So he's
impact
trying to
one
hold
way or
his
the other,
shit together.
it's impossible to answer the question.
Come here,
Show
Goose.
you
What do you think about
this.
this?
Carino,
Who do you want to vote for?
14.
Well, not vote. You know what I mean. What do you
This
think?
is the lawsuit that Mr. Depp filed against Ms. Heard. Do you believe that the filing of this lawsuit reflected in Carino deposition exhibit number 14 and the attendant
Breath
publicity
stinks.
has had a negative impact on the reputation and career of
Oh
Mr.
my
Depp?
goodness gracious.
No,
And why not?
Because I've stated previously, it's not about the filing of a lawsuit, it's about the coverage.
The publicity of it. Got
I
it.
mean, you're asking me what my opinion is of what Johnny's reputation is today. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
My opinion of what Johnny's reputation today is one of the finest actors of his
Yes.
generation.
Yes.
Has,
Yes.
in
I
your
agree.
opinion, has Mr. Depp's reputation
I think he's a great humanitarian too.
at any point from October 2016
And also
to the
just a
present?
wonderful guy.
If you're asking me if what I defined as his reputation has changed in terms of his being viewed as one of the best actors of his generation, I would say no.
One of the best actors of his generation.
So just so I'm clear that I understand your answer, in your opinion,
Oh my goodness, woman.
Mr. Depp's reputation is that he is one of the finest actors of his generation, and that
Wheel.
has been his reputation since you started representing him in October 2016. It still is today, and it hasn't changed during that time frame. Is that correct?
The view on his acting ability has
Hasn't
not
changed.
changed.
Well, I'm taking your definition
He looks
of
tired.
reputation. You said what they are known for. So I'm taking that specific definition, and I'm asking, is there anything other than that Mr. Depp is one of the finest actors of his generation that he is known
This guy would be
for
good at poker.
that has changed between October 2016 and the present?
That's what somebody wrote, not me.
The only way I can answer that is as it relates to his professional capabilities. That has not changed.
Is there something that has changed that doesn't relate to his professional capabilities?
I don't know how to answer that, Elaine.
Using your definition of reputation, which is what a person is known for,
Oh, he's getting pissed. Come
is
on,
there
buddy.
any
Well,
aspect
this is pre-recorded,
of
but
what Mr. Depp is known for
it's
that has changed
just
between October 2016
redundant and ridiculous.
and the present?
Sorry.
It's, I've stated what I think his reputation is.
Her voice
and
is
I've
grating.
stated that, in my opinion, his professional reputation as it relates to the quality of his acting abilities has remained unchanged.
Basically, your job as a witness is to continually repeat the same thing
Do
50
you-
million times. That's it.
Make any distinction between personal and professional reputation?
Yes.
And what is that distinction?
Oh my gosh.
The difference between what somebody does on screen and off screen.
What is your opinion of what Mr. Depp was known for off screen when you started representing him in October 2016?
I think what he was known for off screen was a shroud of mystery of who he was because he was not visible to the public.
In a private life, which is perfectly acceptable. This must be so hard for someone that's so private, you know?
And that was back in October 2016.
I don't have a specific date for that.
But when you started representing him, that was.
He's handling this lawyer quite well, this guy. I'm
Did
impressed.
that change over time?
Yes.
Oh
And in what way did it change?
It changed with the exposure of that came with the lawsuits.
And the lawsuits that we're talking about are the ones that we've
Listening to this
already
makes me
taken a
just
look
want to
at.
bang my head against the wall.
Exhibit 4, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 15. No, I mean 14.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I'm not talking about any one or two specifically, in general.
Do you believe that Mr. Depp is still a shroud of mystery, not visible to the public?
No,
Not really.
And when did that change?
I don't know exactly when.
Would you say it was cumulative over the period of time?
I think the level of frustration with these witnesses is very consistent with this woman. And I think one of the reasons is because the
Is there any
questions
one
that she
specific
answers are not
litigation
answerable.
that you believe most significantly impacted
They're very
on
frustrating.
Mr. Depp's personal reputation no longer being a shroud of mystery and not visible?
Oh my goodness gracious.
My opinion is that Amber's accusations would have had the most dramatic impact on his off-screen reputation. I'm not talking about any one specific accusation.
That's the thing with accusations.
When you say Amber's accusation,
They have consequences
What do you mean by
regardless of whether they're true or not. Oh my God. Of course.
I mean, the things that she's accused
What
Johnny
this
of
trial is all
doing,
about.
both in that have been made public.
now, those
Is it just me or is this
accusations
going
were
in
made
slow
public
motion?
in the divorce back in 2016, correct?
I don't know
I think
exactly
I need a Red Bull.
how or when they were made public.
Sugar-free one. No, I don't drink them.
That you believe Amber's accusation would have had the most dramatic impact on Mr. Depp's off-screen reputation. Would Amber have been filing the divorce action and obtaining a domestic violence restraining order have had a dramatic impact on Mr. Depp's off-screen reputation?
I think the only way I can answer that
Yeah, it does
is
look like the video
by
might
saying
be edited
I
here.
don't think filing for divorce would have any impact whatsoever. And I'm actually not familiar with the lawsuit to get the restraining order, so I don't know exactly what's in there. But if that was based on claims of
Hearsay.
or accusations of abuse, then
Yes.
that, in my opinion, would have a negative impact on Johnny's off-screen reputation.
Of course.
Mr. Carino, we were talking about Amber's accusations and your view that those would have the most
She's
dramatic
trying to get him to
impact
say it exactly.
Mr. Depp's off-screen reputation.
Oh my gosh.
And you were talking about her accusations of domestic abuse and violence, correct?
Yes.
Were you aware that the Dan Wooten
That the what?
article published in the Sun included specific accusations by Amber Heard of domestic violence and abuse by Mr. Depp?
The Sun case, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
first the article itself that was in the paper, the why is J.K. Rowling genuinely happy about employing Mr. Depp, the wife beater?
Yes.
And you're aware that the the litigation, the lawsuit, including the particulars of the claim brought by Mr. Depp, included the accusations by Amber Heard of domestic violence and abuse by Mr. Depp, correct?
Yes.
Given that the Mandel lawsuit included accusations by Amber Heard of domestic violence by Mr. Depp against her, are you able to say how much of Mr. Depp's offspring reputation was impacted by the Mandel lawsuit?
No.
Now, you were
Is this being
aware
edited? It's kind of choppy.
that the op-ed by Dan Wooten and his son included accusations by Amber of domestic violence against Mr. Depp, correct?
Yes.
Are you aware, one way or the other, how much Mr. Depp's offspring reputation was impacted by the complaint that was filed in this case that contained Amber Heard's accusations of domestic violence and abuse by Mr. Depp?
Oh my goodness.
No.
Her questions are like a million words
Are
long.
you aware of how much
They're
Mr. Depp's
confusing.
offspring reputation was impacted as a result of the op-ed in the Washington Post from Amber Heard?
No.
Are you aware of how much Mr. Depp's offspring reputation was impacted by the accusations included in the Waldman tweet on May 2020 of the op-ed?
No.
Are you aware of any role
God.
or opportunity that Mr. Depp lost as a result of the op-ed by Dan Wooten and son?
No.
Are you aware
He's
of any
doing
role
well.
or, and when I'm saying opportunity, any kind of business opportunity that Mr. Depp lost as a result of the particulars of the claim that Mr. Depp filed?
No.
Are you aware of any role or business opportunities that Mr. Depp lost as a result of
Yes, I'm
the
sure.
op-ed by Amber Heard in the Washington Post?
Yep.
Are you aware of any roles or business opportunities?
He's checked
that
out
Mr.
mentally
Depp
by now. He's
lost
just
as a
like,
result of
let's
the
just get this
Waldman
over with.
tweet in May 2020 related to Amber's op-ed?
No.
Is there any other role or business opportunity that Mr. Depp has lost since you started representing him in October 2016? And
What
I'm
was that last
I
question?
would say his, I would say yes.
saying, what?
The Pirates, the next Pirates movie.
Do you remember which one that was?
6, 7, I'm not sure what the number is.
It's 6. I think Pirate 6 is the one that's yet to come out. And why, what is your understanding of why Mr. Depp lost Pirate 6?
This is a
My
loaded
opinion
question.
Is that it was related to the accusations that Amber has made.
Yep.
And what is your opinion based on?
Excuse me?
What is your opinion based on?
Conversations with colleagues and studio execs.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
Conversations with studios and other executives, both internal and external.
Oh God, here goes more questions about that
When
now.
you say related to the accusations that were made by Amber Heard against Mr. Depp, are you talking about accusations of domestic violence and abuse by Mr. Depp?
Yes.
How many conversations have you had with studio and other executives?
I have no idea.
More than 5, more than 10?
I don't know about more than 10, probably between 5 and 10.
Who do you recall speaking with at studios or other executives?
Oh my goodness.
Jerry Bruckheimer, probably mostly Jerry, and then colleagues at CAA.
When
Oh my
did you
God.
first
Have any conversations with Jerry Bruckheimer about
Pirate 6?
I have no idea.
Do you recall whether it was in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019?
I don't.
When did you
This
have
guy
a
wants a stiff
conversation
drink. I
with
can tell.
colleagues
He's
at
like, oh my goodness. Is this over?
It would have been whenever the decisions were being made about how to cast that movie. I don't honestly, I don't know what year that was.
Do you recall who you spoke with at CAA?
Mhm. I spoke with Jack Wiggum. I spoke with Brian Lord.
What do you recall Jerry Bruckheimer telling you?
I don't recall the specific conversations, but the nature of it was that the studio was having difficulty employing him.
Mm-hmm.
And did Mr. Bruckheimer tell you why the studio was having difficulty employing Mr. Depp?
Because of the
Um,
controversy
No, not specifically.
of the case.
was
They
understood.
didn't want to be affiliated. It's kind of
Did you ask?
obvious.
I didn't need to.
Why did you think you didn't need to?
Oh, don't give her any extra information, honestly. This one will just go on
Because-
forever.
Everyone was aware of what was garnering the attention of the studios in determining whether or not he could be employed.
Let's move
When
on.
you say everyone was aware,
Oh my God, woman.
how do you know that?
I don't know. I just knew.
Can you tell me who everyone?
Oh my God.
The people who would have been involved in making that decision.
Well, if I'm understanding you correctly.
I've got to look at the chat here. I'm feeling like I need to.
The only person
That's not root beer
that you
straight.
spoke with about pirates and employing Mr. Depp.
People are getting
Jerry
annoyed with this
Right?
lawyer as well. Okay. Yes. I'm not alone. Thank
Yes.
you.
Right. And you spoke between 5 and 10 times with Mr. Bruckheimer, and he did not say in any of those conversations.
Yeah, this
the
is all
reason we're not
hearsay. I
employing
agree. A lot of this
Mr.
is
Depp
hearsay.
because of Amber Heard's
Why is this not?
accusations of violence and abuse by Mr. Depp, correct?
That's good.
Mr. Carino, when we went off for the break, we were talking about your discussion with Jerry Bruckheimer and other executives at CAA respecting Mr. Depp not being employed further at Disney and likely not pirates. And I think a question came up right before the break. And so I just want to make sure that I have clear, did you talk with anyone other than Jerry Bruckheimer at Disney about Mr. Depp not being employed again at Disney or Pirates?
No.
And was I correct that you, in a certain understanding, you had somewhere between 5 and 10 conversations with Mr. Bruckheimer relating to this topic?
Probably less.
He doesn't know.
I
He said
talk to Jerry
less than 10,
regularly.
probably.
Um,
He already answered that question.
Probably not that many on this topic.
Okay. And was there anyone else at Disney that you spoke with at any point about Johnny Depp being considered for pirates or not being employable by Disney?
No.
And is that true to the present?
Yes.
Okay. And the other discussions that you had, those were all with executives at CAA?
Yes.
And that was Brian Lord and Jack Whittle, correct?
I don't
Yes.
want to see
Anyone else?
Not that I
Amber's
can recall,
face.
no.
Sorry.
You had indicated that you believe that everyone was aware
Everyone was
that the,
aware. We've
impact
reached
of
that point
Amber's
about
allegations
half an hour
were at
ago.
the heart of this. I just want to make sure that we're clear, since we were just talking about this before the break. Jerry Bruckheimer did not say specifically what it was that caused Disney to decide not to continue with Johnny Depp.
I see.
Pirates
She's trying
6
to
or
throw
another
Johnny under the
correct?
bus and say that it
Correct.
wasn't Amber,
Well, and
it
I'm
was
trying to
his
reach that it was understood.
drug abuse.
I'm trying to
That's
discover
what
any
she's trying to
facts
do.
that would have led you to believe it was understood.
It wasn't Amber.
And if I'm understanding,
Dun 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 dun.
Mr. Bruckheimer didn't tell you, correct?
Oh gosh.
Again, it was understood, so I don't recall whether either of us ever said anything specific about why.
See, the thing
But
is, he's asking,
It is something.
she's
within
asking
the
him to
industry
quantify
that
why he
is
knows things, but then
understood.
she's using that as the same argument to say that it wasn't Amber's accusations that caused his career to go downhill. And that can't be proven either. So she's using, it doesn't even make sense. Yeah, irrelevant.
Other than Mr. Depp.
Not that I work with directly, no.
In any of your discussions with Mr. Bruckheimer, did you ask him what Mr. Depp could do to become employable by Disney again, or to be able to get any part of any Pirates franchise going forward?
No.
Why not?
Because there, in cases like this, there is nothing anybody can do. It is the directive of the studio and they have the sole right to make the judgment whether they can continue to employ somebody or not.
They just
Your
don't want to be
understanding
affiliated
from
with
the discussions
controversy,
with
right?
Mr. Bruckheimer is that Disney had made the judgment to decide that they could no longer employ Mr. Depp. Is that correct?
Yes, but not solely based on conversations with Mr. Bruckheimer. It was cumulative with the internal and external conversations.
What did Mr. Lord say that led you to believe that?
Oh my goodness.
That Disney had made the decision, the judgment that they were not able to employ Mr. Depp.
Just that the decision had been made.
What did Mr. Wickham say about Disney making the judgment of whether they would not be able to employ Mr. Depp?
Same thing.
Just that they made the decision.
Correct.
Were you aware of any problems on the set with Mr. Depp
Here we go.
during the filming of Pirates Club?
Here we go.
Were you aware of Mr. Depp engaging in alcohol and drug use, being tardy, any of those issues during the filming of Pirates 5?
I'm aware of him being tardy, but he's been tardy on everything in his entire life.
Doesn't he also have ADHD?
Were you aware of whether that was
So that's part
troublesome
of
to Disney
something that
during
people
the
struggle with,
Pirates
that have
5?
that
I think
Being
it's
late.
troublesome to everybody, but
remembering
everyone
things,
has learned how to
organization.
deal with it.
Working around Mr. Depp?
Also, I would like to say that living and having to
You
deal
know
with a
whether
partner
there was
that
anyone on the set of Pirates 5
has borderline histrionic
with it and was
personality disorder is extremely stressful. So
Were you aware?
I'm not condoning
that
drug use,
the
alcohol use, or
filming had to
anything
be
or
shut
abuse
down
of that
for
in
a
any
period
way,
of
but I
time
am saying that
after Mr. Depp injured his
if
finger?
that was the case,
Yes.
you know,
Were
and,
you
and
aware
it
of
sounds
any
like the arguments were
disagreements
always
between
really
Mr.
inflammatory,
Depp
that
and Disney,
if someone had a
including
tendency to go in that direction when they were stressed, that they would start to abuse substances or alcohol or potentially relapse back into old behaviors because they're trying to cope with how stressful the relationship is and trying to keep it together. So it makes a lot of sense to me that he would be going downhill in more areas of his life, because his resources were being exhausted from trying to maintain the relationship.
I don't know how to describe the difference between the Disney edit and Johnny's preferred edit.
But it shows
I think
Johnny's strength too, the
Johnny,
fact that he would.
Told
Oh, wait,
me about
I'll
it, talked about it a little bit.
What?
Do you know how well Pirates 5 did at the box office?
Oh my.
Not exactly.
You know whether it was more
Oh, I'm at
successful or less
3%.
successful than
I
earlier
better
Pirates?
go get my charger.
I think it was slightly less than, I wasn't the most successful installment of that franchise.
Do you know whether Mr. Depp has a pay or play clause that would pay him even if he was not in the subsequent Pirate 6?
In 6?
Yes.
I don't think he does.
Have you or anyone at CAA on behalf of Mr. Depp made any efforts with Disney to find any roles for Mr. Depp since he filmed Pirates 5?
My efforts were probably primarily around Houdini, which at one point was a film, but other people at CA for sure did, yes.
Who were they?
I would start with Jack Wigham.
We'll now play volume 2 of Mr. Carino's deposition, at which,
Okay, maybe time for afternoon.
Sure.
Why don't we, it's close enough to it. So-
absolutely, Your Honor.
All right, before we get to volume 2, let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break. Please do not talk to anybody about the case and don't do any outside research. Thank you.
So we're gonna hop off for a break right now as the court is in recess for a break. Honestly, a lot of this testimony is really hard to watch. Not even just like lately in the last couple ones because of the content, but just because of the way this female lawyer handles herself in the courtroom with these witnesses. It's extremely, I don't want to use the word boring, but it's hard to sit through and you know, as an observer, just to see the level of frustration in the witnesses is it's high and it's global. everyone is experiencing her this way. So I don't know, like some of the other lawyers, it's not the same feel. Like I think I said in the first live video that I posted here yesterday, I think it was when I started doing this. Like truly does attract like, and I don't know. I just, she comes across calmer, but this is also a pre-recorded interview, so it's not from current. But the abrasiveness of this lawyer is real turnoff for, I would say, to the jury too. So it doesn't work in her favor. I'm really hoping that later today that maybe we can hear from someone else and a different lawyer, please. Pretty please. I don't think I can take much more of this woman today. Bye.